This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Oh,
right,
what's
Tim?
going on?
All right. Oh, you sound much better.
Let's go.
See,
Let's
now
go.
now you sound pretty, just like you
Okay.
are. There you go.
All right. Well, I wouldn't say I'm all that. I'm probably a good 7.5 out of 10, but I'll take pretty.
You're an 11 out of 10. We
I'll
all
take
know.
it.
We all
I'll
know.
take it.
We all know it. We
I'll
all know.
take it. Yeah,
Uh,
it must have been the car. I don't know what was going on.
Yeah, shit happens, bro. It's cell phones are not they're still not perfected. You know what I'm saying? So it's all good. You know me, bro. We roll, we adjust, and we move on. No big deal. Listen, I'm sticking to my guns like I've said for months. Okay, unless he wants to take a serious hometown haircut here, forget about it, bro. But if he wants big ass money and long ass hair, it ain't going to happen here, okay? And as I said for months, they're not trading for him. They didn't trade for him. As I said for months, they're not paying a high salary, and it's not going to happen. Okay, so now let's play this silly hypothetical game. If he does come here and he does want to take a team-friendly deal, Ahmed does not make the team anymore, right? It's him with Wilson, Mostert, and A-Chain, and that's it. Because of the fullback, because of the Higgins and Tanner Connor experiment, that takes up a spot there. And A-Chain can handle kickoffs, and Berrios can handle punt returns. So this would, if you're Ahmed right now, you don't want Dalvin Cook here, correct?
Yeah. I mean, the reality is some of this is business. You got Raheem Mostert, you got Jeff Wilson. Both of those guys have money on their deals, and so you like, unless you're trading one of those dudes, they're going to be on the roster.
Right.
A-Chain you drafted in the third round, and he looked good. He's going to be on the roster, and obviously, if you bring Cook in, he's going to be the roster. That's 4 running backs and a fullback, like you mentioned. And teams, maybe they try to figure out a way to bring 5. But the other issue is when you start to have that many backs, you start to ask how many of these guys are going to contribute on special teams. And historically, Mostert and Wilson have not been big special teams guys. A-Chain is smaller. Maybe he does a little bit in special teams.
My prediction is he's the kick returner, but go ahead.
Well, the kick return has been taken out of football almost these days, so I don't know how much reps he gets there.
That's the beauty of it. He won't be suffering any injuries.
Right. And so maybe that is his role. Maybe Braxton Berrios is just the punt returner instead of
guaranteed.
And A-Chain's the kick returner. But you need some guys to play special teams. In-goal play some special teams. But that's why it's tough to keep 5 backs. Like Ahmed is not a huge special teams guy. He played more last year, but he's just not a huge part of his game. And so a Cook signing probably would mark the end of both Ahmed and Myles Gaskin.
You don't think he signs here either, right?
I don't know if I would say I don't think so, but I don't know if this is much of a given as Dolphins fans would want it to be. I'm with you. I think that money's going to play. It's going to be interesting to see how much money plays a factor.
Because Dalvin, 29, bro. He's 29. He's going to
because Dalvin obviously wants to be here. I mean, he is not making it any secret. He's making these social posts. He's told people around him he wants to be in Miami. So if everything's even or even close, I think he goes to Miami. If Miami's offering him $4 or $5 million and another team's offering him $5 or $6 million, I think he probably would choose Miami in that situation. But if Miami's offering him $3.5 million and some other team is offering him $8 million, I still find it hard to believe he's going to pass up, multiple millions to play here. And so that to me is going to be the question. What are the other offers? The running back position has been very much depressed. And so he was set to make about $11 million in Minnesota. I do not think he's going to get that number. And I really don't know if he gets close to. I think maybe $8 million would be a number I think he should be, probably satisfied with given the running back market. So, Denver's been floated out there. The Jets have been floated out there. Obviously, Miami's a big name in that.
Dallas makes sense.
But here's the thing about Dallas. Dallas is paying Tony Pollard the 5th-year option, which is about $11 million. And the reason they got rid of Zeke, partially because he was declining, but partially because they didn't want to pay 2 backs, a combined nearly $20 million.
But Zeke is a shell of what he was, so
No, you're
why
right.
keep him where Dalvin and Pollard is injury prone? Pollard has an injury history, so they don't have really another two back. So if you bring in Dalvin, I got to tell you something. For that quarterback, you better have some running backs for him, bro, because
Yeah.
he's not that guy. That he's not the dude that, oh, if the running game isn't working, don't worry about it. I'm going to carry you all the way. That's not who Dak is. He hasn't proven to be that
Yeah.
guy.
And I'm with you. I have a lot of questions about whether Tony Pollard can carry the load themselves. But I'm just telling you kind of their thought process and
No,
giving
I
you
got you. I got you.
yeah, but trust me, Dalvin Cook feels like a Jerry move. Jerry loves the big name splash, and so Dalvin Cook does feel like a Jerry move, even though it would be contrary to some of the moves they've made this offseason.
And Sean just told us that they have 12 million of cap
Yeah,
space.
it makes sense. And Dallas, like Florida, is a no state tax state, and
Right.
so those guys get we don't talk about that a lot, but that's a priority. You look at all the Florida teams, all the Texas teams, the Titans in Nashville, and the Raiders in Vegas. Those are the four teams that have the non-state taxes, and so that may make a difference. That gives you extra half million, maybe extra million on that salary.
What do you hear about the Connor Williams negotiations?
I haven't heard much of it. I think right now it's a little bit of a standoff. Mike McDaniel said they have had communication, so it's not like there's we haven't talked to him in X amount of weeks type thing. But clearly, Connor's trying to make a point. He's trying to make a stance. He clearly feels like his side is not being heard or felt in negotiations. I don't know if the Dolphins have made any offer or if they're just telling him to play it out. But right now, Connor is trying to draw a line in the sand. Now, the big question comes in training camp: is he still drawing that line in the sand and really willing to miss days and more fines, or is this more of a hey, let's try to do this summer and hopefully we have something done before our report? I think about 2 years ago, and it's not exactly the same situation because I think X was a little bit more proven, but Xavier had a similar deal where eventually he wrote a letter and asked for a trade, and then he kind of held in where he came to camp but said he had a little hamstring injury and that lingered for like a week or so, and then they gave him kind of the sweetener. I don't know if the result's the same for Connor Williams, but I'm guessing that's probably his hope that he can hold it out enough that they say, hey, let's just give this guy something to make him happy for this year, and let's figure out an extension next year.
I'd love to ask you, so what do you think about the people that filled in for him? But I just, I can't take the inside guys at this point. I can't measure those guys. I can't judge people when you're really not padded up and really hitting. You know what I mean? But I will say this. I didn't see any real. In fact, wait a minute. I don't remember a bad snap.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when
I
you
can't
move
say
guys,
I saw every single snap,
right.
but I want to say I didn't see any go over anybody's heads or under their feet or anything like that. All the snaps were pretty much on target. So whoever filled in, including Eichenberg, actually did a half decent job snapping the ball.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm with you. I didn't see any snap issues either. And I'll tell you what, when you move let's just call it your left guard to center, if that's the case, you wonder how that's going to transition, right? And I will say I saw some feistiness and I like that. And I like that for that player regardless. You're thinking about a young player who has been injured, who hadn't really shown his full potential. He's showing some feistiness and getting in a little bit of scraps with
Raekwon? So you're talking about
Raekwon Davis. Yeah, with Raekwon Davis and whatnot. And so I like that. Whether he's at left guard or center or wherever he ends up, I like that out of him. So I do think this team needs Connor Williams. But you find out a little bit about your roster when you get placed in situations like this.
I screwed up. I thought that they would do Connor like towards the end of the year, right at the end of right at the beginning of the off season, but I silly me. He's going into the final year of his contract. Nobody wants to deal with that.
Yeah,
Player. So I don't blame him for doing this. I
and the
really
reality is, let's call it what it is with Connor. And I'm gonna keep it really real with you. Connor had some struggles early in his career in Dallas. He hadn't been the player that maybe some people thought he would be early in his career. And so when he signed with Miami, it was a little bit more of we're taking a chance on a guy who hasn't necessarily fulfilled everything. And we're also switching positions. And so he had a year probably that exceeded even the Dolphins' expectation. And so he's like, well, now let me get my up, because the reality is there's no guarantee he has that same season this year. There's no guarantee that that's who he is. So if he's the smart man that I'm sure he is, his agent is smart man, you want to get that security and take advantage of the situation of, hey, I played like a top 12 center last year, and so I need to get paid like one.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. Your thoughts on Tua this week? What'd you see from him?
Yeah, I mean, I will say the last session we saw from him on, what was that, Thursday, yesterday, was probably the worst I've seen him all off season. And it wasn't awful. Like there was, the defense won the day, absolutely. And I would say the defense won most of the week, which is not a surprise.
That first interception had nothing to do with him. The X went over the top of the receiver. The receiver the receiver didn't run hard enough to get to that ball. He should have been DB.
I hear you, man, but
Great play by X.
all touchdowns end up on the quarterback's stat line, and all the interceptions do too. So I get you. There's context there that's important, but Tua goes down with the 2 interceptions. Mike White goes down with his 2 interceptions. Skylar goes down with his 1. So, but I'm with you. You're right. And I honestly, it's a practice. This is where you try to work out different things. And
what I loved about that play was the explosion of X.
Yeah,
he could not do that last year.
Yeah,
that's to me what stood out of that play. One, the receiver, which was Braylon Sanders.
Yep.
Yeah, he's got to run that with more conviction. I was sitting there with OJ talking about this, and McDuffie says you got to be a DB there. If you don't think you can get there to catch it, at least you could get there to knock it down. Because if the DB went over the top on you to get it, then you're underneath. You have the quicker route to it. And so he also saw the same thing I did. But to me, the exciting part was, hell, X doesn't even do this shit.
Yeah. I'm telling you, watch out for X this year.
Watch
out for X this year. I think he's gonna bounce back and have one of those years that he's known for. He's got an elite corner on the opposite side. He's healthy. His mind's in the right spot. He's in a scheme that's not gonna have him run man coverage and follow receivers across the formation 90% of the snaps. And so I'm feeling a X 5, 6, 7 interception season coming. And he's going to make it real hard on the Dolphins to decide what to do with them contract rise next year. And so I think X is going to be one of the biggest beneficiaries of Vic Fangio and Jalen Ramsey.
I'm with you there. All right, one more thing before I let you go. The battle at number 2, way too early to say anything, but I kind of like Skylar right now. That's just me.
So Skylar has been the better player this offseason. It is what it is. It's only a month and a half of work, but every time I've been out there, I think I've been out there every day they practice, honestly. And Skylar has looked like the better, more accurate player pretty much every day. Now it's only June. Skylar has been in the system before. Mike White hasn't. And so Skylar's got a little bit of advantage for that. And so I'm going to give him time and see how it looks in training camp and also in preseason games, because there are players, and I'm not sure if Mike White is one of them, but there are players who are better gamers than practice players. We know those guys. And so I don't know what Mike White falls into, but he can go into a preseason game and ball out compared to Skylar. The other thing is Mike White's going to have the benefit of the doubt. He was signed to be the backup. He's making $4.5 million guaranteed. And so he's not, it doesn't mean that he can do anything and be the backup. But if it's even, or even if it's close, it's probably going to be Mike White. But right now, I don't know that it's been even or close. And so if it looks like this in training camp, if it looks like this in preseason, then I'm with you. I think Skylar has to be the guy. That's number 2.
He made some of the best throws this week, actually. So I give him credit. That skinny post he threw in the second day was really nice, and the inside shoulder he threw in the end zone I thought that was outstanding because that takes that takes anticipatory skills. And dude, he showed it to me. One more thing before I let you go. I got game. New Jersey says Miami has not had 1,000-yard rusher in 7 years. We need a real running back. And so, is that true? Do you need 1,000? Because I'm looking. Who won the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I can't
Kansas
even.
City, right?
Who was
And Isaiah Pacheco had 830 yards, and Mostert had 900.
Yeah,
I think we tend to, as we get older, we kind of have to lose our habits. The game is not about the ground game; it's about the pass game. The ground game is there to complement, and they're doing the right thing. Use multiple backs, just like Kansas City, and because that's how you got to attack people. The bell cow thing, like Derrick Henry, that shit's come and gone, bro.
Yeah, we're seeing in the values of running backs what they're getting paid. They're valued more in volume than in quality. And so I do think you'll see San Francisco's done this for a while, but 3 or 4 different backs attacking the Cook. Even if it is Cook, like I've made a pun there, but even if it is Cook that's bringing in here and he's in the lead back, I don't know that he is a 250 plus carry guy. I think that you work him in. Last year is a great example. Rheaume was the leading back, but Wilson, once he came in, was essentially even with him in touches. Imagine that now split at least with 3, because A-Chain's going to get some touches. And if Cook's here, then it's split with 4. And so I don't know that you have a 1,000-yard back, whether Cook is on this team or not. Now, 1,000 yards combined, yes, because Rheaume, people don't realize this, Rheaume had over 1,000 yards combined as a rusher and a receiver. But just 1,000 yards rushing with one back, I don't know if that needs to be a reality for this team.
And by the way, the only reason San Francisco invested in big in the back, it's because they weren't paying quarterbacks.
Right. But
That's
I'm
why.
talking about the old.
No, but I'm
old
just
thing,
saying,
right?
in their case, if not, they would be doing the same thing Miami's doing. They would have 3-4 backs like they normally do. They
Right.
only went to this McCaffrey kid because they're not paying quarterbacks, so they have a lot of
Right.
extra
And
money.
McCaffrey's different. Like McCaffrey's one of those rare back, kind of like Alvin Kamara was when he was fully healthy.
Right.
How Bijan is going to be used in Atlanta, where you're going to be at just as much a running back as your number 2 or number 3 receiver on a team. And so you're playing essentially a receiver and a running back in one body. And so that makes it a little bit more, hey, we'll pay this guy 15 to 18 million because we pay our number 2 receiver, 12 to 15 million anyway. And so that's probably a lot of the thinking.
You got it. Follow him on Twitter at Cameron Wolfe and enjoy the links, my brother. Hit them straight. Be good out there.
Absolutely. The Heat wins tonight. All right.
They have to win tonight.
All right, man. Have a good one.
You got it. Let's hope so, man. Oh, baby. All right, KSDT CPAs. Listen, folks, if you own a business and you're going to need help in so many different areas, from healthcare to payroll to planning to savings, you name it, KSDT can help your business, evaluating your business, what it's worth, all those kind of things. KSDT does all of that. And of course, they do your taxes, the personal, business. Use that QR code that's right there on the screen. If you're listening on the podcast, call them 305-670-3370. Go to KSDTCPAs.com and tell them that Big O sent you.